What is up, everyone? Jill and Nathan here with Whispering Willow Farm, and welcome.
Hey guys.
We are a little pooped today. We have been weeding dahlia beds all week. We are so exhausted, which is why we decided to bring this video to you guys today from our air-conditioned house.
From the inside, yes.
From the inside.
I still haven't changed clothes, so I stink, so she's smelling me right now.
That's all right. But today we're going to talk to you guys about what we are planting and growing for fall. For those of you who are maybe new, we are growing in Central Arkansas Zone 7B. So we grow the majority of our crops, believe it or not, during the fall and winter. It is our favorite time to grow because, like I mentioned, being in Arkansas, we see 100+ days often. That's really hard on us as the farmers and the growers. It's also really hard on our plants. And so we have just kind of learned to eat more of the fall and winter garden just because it's a lot easier for us in the zone that we're growing in. And so we get asked all the time, well, what are you growing? I know the fall garden is not near as popular as the summer garden, but I feel like we're on a mission to change that. We want to encourage so many people that growing a fall garden is so easy.
It is. You
can do it whether you're growing in a high tunnel or not. Anything we're going to be sharing today can be grown inside protected culture or outside protected cultures. So we are going to go through and share with you guys the varieties that we're growing here in Central Arkansas. If maybe you have considered growing a fall garden, I hope that maybe this encourages you. And aside from just sharing with you guys the varieties that we're growing, I'm going to show you an insider peek of my crop plan. I've got all of this in a spreadsheet. It's got successions for me, so you can really kind of see how much food we are able to crank out in a very short window. We only have a few months to grow because we do want to let our beds rest before that spring season, but I hope that this is just really encouraging to you guys that you can grow food throughout the fall and the winter, and we're going to share with you what we're growing.
All right, good job, babe. Like she said, we do grow a majority of our food in the fall and winter. I think we've just gotten adjusted to eating a lot of those foods. Now, we love our cucumbers and tomatoes and stuff like that, but now it's time to start ripping out all those summer crops that are probably just dying anyways. And let's get started.
Absolutely. All right, so I am going to throw photos up here on the screen so you guys can see. We ordered the bulk of our seeds from Johnny Seeds, and their seed packets don't have, you know, beautiful imagery, but we're able to buy in, you know, bulk and get a discount. So of course, you know, when you think about growing for the fall and winter, the most important thing is, you know, we talk about seasonally eating, grow things within the appropriate season. Now, we are growing in a high tunnel, and so there are some flexibilities for us. So we are gonna do a late round of cucumbers and Roma tomatoes. They won't be as productive as they would be in the dead of summer, but they will still produce for us. But if you wanna be successful, especially if you're not growing in a high tunnel, make sure you grow, you know, frost tolerant varieties. Make sure that you are growing those things that not only, you know, can withstand those light frosts, but actually enjoy. You know, a lot of carrots and root vegetables, they taste sweeter after they've been nipped by the frost. So that's gonna be kind of the first thing. A lot of the things you're seeing here, these are things specifically that enjoy to be grown within this season. So that's something to, you know, take into account as well.
We're in order?
We are in order. So first up, let's start with our brassicas. There are a few things that I buy transplants of because usually, you know, this time of year we are transitioning the farm for the summer garden into the fall garden, and sometimes, you know, well, one, it's just way too hot to be starting our seeds out in our seed starting tunnel. So we are having to start these things inside with racks and grow lights, and we are a bit limited on that space. So things that take a lot longer that I know are a little bit finicky for me and that I can easily find, I'll go ahead and buy those transplants from a local plant store. Those happen to be your Brussels sprouts. Those are 120 days to maturity. That's a really long time, especially to keep it healthy and thriving in the house. So I just like to, you know, source those out. And then my Chinese cabbages, my red cabbages, and just my standard cabbages, those are things that sometimes I will start them, but I'm also not opposed to buying them because they're readily available. But that's going to be very dependent on where you are. So be mindful of that. Some of these varieties, especially the brassicas that take longer, these are things you need to be thinking about now. But the things that we do always start is broccoli. We grow a variety called Emperor. It's done really well. We've grown it several years. And we're doing a ton of cauliflower varieties. Why is that, babe?
Because we eat a ton of cauliflower.
And what is the one thing I'm really wanting to do?
We are going to ferment cauliflower. We make lots of cauliflower rice. I personally love steamed and cast iron skillet cooked cauliflower.
Pizza crust. I mean, there's just so many things you can do with cauliflower. So for me, I did kind of envision doing a bunch of cauliflower ferments, and so I knew I wanted that to be very bright and vibrant. So I am starting a clementine, which I've already got these started. This is a really pretty orange color.
Really?
We've got the early snow, which is just your white standard. And then we have a purple moon. So this is one of those really deep purples. I grew some purples last year and had a little bit harder time. So this year I decided I would do 2 new varieties just so I could kind of compare the two. So we've got the purple moon from Johnny's, and then we have the graffiti from Haas Tools. And so we'll kind of just do that. And sometimes I do like to grow you know, multiple colors and just figure out which variety kind of perform better, and then that kind of just helps me narrow down which one I want to continue to grow.
Don't let her lie. She loves all the colors. She's envisioning this beautiful mason jar with orange, purple, white cauliflower fermented.
I said I like to grow multiple colors, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right, another thing that we ferment a ton of, that is our #1 means of preservation. So you can check out our channel. We have so many resources for fermented carrots and kohlrabi and kimchi and you name it. That's our #1 way of preserving. So a lot of this are things that, you know, they're kind of our tried and trues. We understand and we know that they ferment well. We've got a way to preserve it. So those are things to be thinking through, as well as if you do grow this abundant fall and winter garden, how do you plan on preserving it? What are you gonna do with it? Nothing's worse than growing food and it just going to waste. So something we love is kohlrabi. We grow the Cossack variety. There is also the purple Vienna, which we have a ton of. This happens to always be the free seed when I order from Baker Creek. So I've got like 6 of these.
Which is good. That's one of my personal favorite things, eating fermented, and the girls. The girls love it.
One thing I will note is that the Cossack variety is a good storage kohlrabi, and they grow really, really big, massive heads. And so the purple Vienna, it's kind of better, less woody when you harvest it small. And so that's, again, just kind of trialing different varieties of the same crop and figuring out which one you really prefer better. Although I love the purple, I would say the Cossack performs better in our area. So I do still have some Brussels sprout seeds here. It's a Dagan F1 variety. I might try some of these. That's just gonna kind of be dependent, and just know that if I, you know, end up buying them as transplants, that's okay.
What we got here?
There we've got Oric spinach, which we're actually growing this for a customer. So we will be growing for a farm to table restaurant all their salad greens, all their spinach. So we have a hybrid Auroric smooth leaf spinach, and we'll also be growing them this ruby red Oric, which is just a beautiful, stunning, you know, spinach and greens, chards. Those things are gonna do excellent this time of year. You can never grow enough leafy greens as long as you have a way to use them, because it's kind of hard to preserve anything other than spinach.
Right, yeah.
Spinach is great for smoothies, but as far as your chards and your lettuce, you either need to be eating a lot of that or maybe not growing it.
Yeah.
All right, next up we've got celery. We have a Tango variety. I grew this last year. It did so great. We juice a lot, so that is primarily what we are growing our celery for. It will store in your fridge, but not very long, so I really like to stagger those plantings. That way it's not just sitting and wilting in the fridge. So that's something to be mindful of. And then we have all of our root veggies. So we've kind of moved through the brassicas, right? We've got our broccoli, our cauliflower. We're gonna be buying cabbage transplants and Brussels sprouts. We have our kohlrabi. Those are really the bulk of the brassicas that we're growing. Because again, we have a way to preserve it. We know that it's things that our family eats and enjoys. And then when we're moving into our root veggies, we do a massive emphasis of this in the early spring, and then we do a massive emphasis of this in the fall. We sold all of our root veggie crops this spring to a restaurant, so we are now in a deficit where we don't have any. We're running through the last of our reserves that are fermented. So we know we need to put a huge emphasis on growing to make up for what we sold in the spring.
Yeah.
All right, so we have got the daikon radishes. One of my favorite varieties, and we actually do have some in the fridge, is Bravo. And this is a beautiful big storage variety, and it's purple. It is absolutely stunning. It tastes really mild.
I think
and
it's
fresh.
very mild. You know, it's got a little bit of back end heat. But yeah, it's very mild.
And when you grow it in the fall, there is no heat. That's just because it gets so hot. We try to, you know,
we harvested it, yeah.
They get bigger, so they take longer. Most radishes are a 30-day seed to harvest. Since these are bigger, they're going to be a lot longer. And so I do recommend, you know, unless you get a really early head start, this, you know, fall is kind of a better time to grow these daikons. But I believe everyone should try to grow the daikon because they're so fun. They store really, really well. They'll store in cold storage for up to a year, which is massive. So that's a must-have. Then we have carrots. Napoli is a variety we've been growing for a few years. There's another variety called Bolaroy, and then one we grew last year that I really liked, and I think I'm going to order the seeds from, are Viper from Hospitals, and they're these really long, well, you guys see them right here. They're these really long, slender, and when I think about growing fall food, I think about the holidays. And so I roasted these whole with some honey and garlic and had them for different holiday festivities we had at the house. And so that's something else. Again, I keep mentioning this, but be mindful. How do you plan on using this? Maybe if you only eat baby carrots, you just, you know, harvest these at a smaller stage. So that's something to really consider when you're planning out that fall garden.
Those carrots were really good.
So good. We have got red beets, Bolador beets, which are a golden yellow beet. They have a sweeter, mild flavor. Again, these will all be fermented, and then we just have a bull's blood because it's just that pungent. You can save the skins and dye them. Like dye different fabrics and things with it. So super versatile. Again, with your carrots, your radish, and beets, you can throw these in cold storage to last for a really long time.
Yeah.
So that's the bulk of what we're growing. Brassicas, root veggies, greens.
Right.
And some celery.
Yeah, because we weren't able to ferment much this summer, so I'm looking forward to taking all this and fermenting.
Yeah. So we shared with you guys what we were growing. Not a ton, right? So you're thinking, how are you able to crank out all your family's food needs and provide a restaurant when there wasn't a lot of option, right? And we are able to do this through something called succession sowing. And essentially what we're doing is we're just staggering our planting so that we can stagger our harvest. And the reason I like to put this in a spreadsheet, which I used to do all this by hand, all this calculating with giant, massive, you know, erase boards. We'd have folding tables set up in our living room, and it would take us about 3 days to figure out our crop plans each season. Now we use a planting calendar from Seed Time. It has just made our life so much easier because I go in and I jot my zip code and it calculates my growing zone, and therefore I can just click a button, add a succession, and it literally will go through and, you know, input these for me and do all that guesswork. And so how we're able to go about providing our family with all this food is that we are really implementing succession sowing to make sure that we are getting the most out of our spaces. One thing that's really important, and one thing that's vastly different about the fall and winter garden versus the summer garden, is that it's cold. And so your plant's growth slows down tremendously when it's cold. And so how we account for this, how we offset that, is by planting more frequently, because we know that it's not going to, you know, the daylight hours start to reduce, the temperatures start to drop. Granted, we are growing those varieties that can withstand that, but still the plant growth is just going to slow down. And so we kind of, you know, we understand this, we understand how the plant's biology is and how it's going to perform. And so we offset that by saying, hey, we're going to crank up our successions to make sure we're still getting the same amount of food yield as we're used to getting for those summer crops, just, you know, in the fall and the winter.
It's good, babe.
You thought that was good?
That was good.
Okay, good.
I got nothing to add.
All right, so now I'm going to share with you guys my planting calendar. I love this because I also include my task, and therefore it tells me when I need to start cultivating a bed, prepping a bed, harvesting a bed, planting a bed, you name it. It does all the guesswork. And so I think this is going to be a great resource for you guys. And even if you're not growing a fall garden, this will be really fun right now during, you know, as we're kind of entering into the fall season, to play around and see what you're really able to crank out in your space, whether that's a small space or a large space come spring. It's a great opportunity just to play around with this. Alrighty, so now I'm going to share with you guys what my crop plan looks like. Now, what you might see is something a little chaotic, but I do like to have all of my things showing at once, just because I have these all color coordinated, so I kind of know just in my memory, you know, based off of the colors, what I need to do. But you can definitely simplify this. You guys can grab your free Seedtime account at the link in my description and start creating this. But over here to the left, you guys can see I've got multiple beets, right? So the beets, you got beets 1 and beets 2. These are my successions. And so this is how many of these I have put on succession to be able to grow throughout the fall and the winter. So you'll see broccoli, we've got 3, carrots, we have 3. A lot of those things we were talking about being a deficit in, we wanted to make sure we got multiple successions in. That way we could just restock, you know, our refrigerator with our fermented goods and things like that. But you'll see it's broken up here by month. So we've got July, August, September, October, November, December. And then we like to let our beds rest in January and February. And we'll just mulch them really well. And during this 2-month period, I will be ordering seeds. I will be getting a plan for the spring and the summer. And then in March, we will start planting everything for that spring season. And so that's just going to be dependent on where you are and kind of what your schedule is like. But I like to give myself a little bit of a rest. One of my favorite things about Seedtime though is one, you can color coordinate everything, but it really simplifies things. So you can see here in July, it has me seeding cauliflower. You get a week-long window for these things. But then over here, we're prepping the bed for that. We're transplanting it. Again, we've got these, it will tell you one if it's succession 1 or succession 2. And then we'll scroll on down because we should be harvesting cauliflower, right? So in November here, the first week of November, we're harvesting cauliflower. So it literally walks through the entire steps for you. You can take this off if you want. You can go in and do your task. I prefer to know when I need to be seeding, when I need to be prepping a bed, when I need to be cultivating and harvesting, because it helps me stay on schedule and just know what needs to be done when. But this is great because you can see here, not only is it telling me when I need to get everything, you know, ready, which is really important. It also shows me when I'm going to be harvesting everything. And so for us, this is really important when we're thinking about having time to preserve everything, specifically if you are, you know, canning or something like this. But if we know we're going to be harvesting a lot of our root veggies and we want to preserve all of those and ferment those in November, maybe when we're harvesting all of our cabbage, we wait a little bit longer. And so it's just really, really nice to have all this. That way you can see exactly when you're going to be transplanting, harvesting, etc. I'm going to show you guys real quickly though how to add a crop and just how easy this is. So you're going to add crop. You're going to find your crop. So let's see here. We're going to do bok choy. And you can go in and select your variety. We're going to do a pak choy. I like to label this, that way if anyone else is planting it, they know exactly where I want this one. So I'm going to say far left bed. And then you can go in here and you can add a color. So we're going to make this blue. Then if you go down here to advanced settings, it'll tell you the season, it's fall and winter. The seeding date is 10 weeks before your first frost. You can, it will tell you whether it's better transplanted or direct seeded. You can manually change these. They are ready to transplant in 28 days. It's a cool season crop. It tells you your spacing. The days to maturity are 52. The harvest window is 14 days. And you can do succession spacing every 2 weeks. So then I'm just going to go in and I'm going to schedule it. And now we are just going to look for the blue. So in September, the first week of September, we're going to be seeding that bok choy. We're going to scroll down. We are going to be cultivating the beds for that in October. And we are harvesting the end of October. So see how that spaced it all? And then if I wanted to add a succession, I'll go over here to the left-hand side. I'll hit these 3 menus and I'll just put add succession. And I can keep doing this and you can see it's auto-populated it, which is really, really nice. Now again, you can simplify this to where it doesn't look this chaotic. If you go over here, you can also click on task. I'm really bad about clicking these, but it will tell you based off of your week what you need to be doing. So this week I need to be, transplanting Brussels sprouts, direct seeding my carrots, cultivating my cauliflower. So this is really nice because you can print this off and then just have a good guide to go off of, especially if someone else is helping you as well. So that is my crop calendar for the fall and winter. Again, I just think this is super easy, user-friendly. I really recommend everyone grab an account and just play around with it because I think it's going to simplify a lot for you guys. All right, I don't know about you, but this got me really pumped.
I'm pumped that you're pumped.
I am so excited. I am so ready. We kind of took off the summer season for some various reasons that we really didn't want to. And so I have been itching to get back into the garden. I really want to encourage you guys, if you have grown a spring and summer garden and you've never thought about growing a fall garden, don't even worry about starting seeds. Just go down to your local nursery, farmer's co-op, hardware store, wherever sells plant starts.
Yep.
And grab yourself some easy wins, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower. Throw them outside. Just see what happens, because I'm telling you, for someone like me who really needs that during those blue, winter months, it is crucial. And so if you've never grown a fall garden, I really encourage you guys to try it. Again, piece of advice, make sure you're growing those things that enjoy being grown, in the cooler temperatures. But I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my crop calendar. If you have any questions about my crop calendar or my successions or anything like that, just make sure you leave a comment down in the description and Nathan will be sure to get back with you.
Pass them along.
Yeah, Nathan passes them along to me and I bounce the answers right back. But thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We just wanted to kind of share with you what we're growing. We're excited to take you guys on the journey this fall as we are cranking up our food production yet again. And it is, we've waited for it.
It's good. We essentially, we didn't fully take the summer off, but we took the summer off.
We took a lot of the summer off and we were ready to hit the ground running.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.